Hey guys, it's Jeff from Fresh Your Luck, and today I am excited. I'm always excited when I get to partner with one of my favorite brands in the whole universe. I am talking about Better Than Bouillon. Now, in case you don't know what Better Than Bouillon is, and if I hadn't made you fall in love with it, just like I've made myself fall in love with it, let me explain really quickly. It's basically the best bouillon or base you can ever use ever, because it's the most flavorful. It has a ton of variety in terms of the flavors they offer, and look at it, it stores in a jar. It's a base, just like this. And one jar like this, one jar of 8 ounces equals 38 servings of broth. All you do is you scoop out 1 teaspoon of the base, it's a concentrate, mix it up with 1 cup of water, and presto, you have 1 cup of broth. It stores in your fridge and it has a very, very generous shelf life as well. Forget those cartons of broth. This takes up such little space and no flavor will be better than this one. But I'll get back to this in a quick second. So I was recently in Spain, and one of the wonderful flavors of Spain is sofrito. Now, what is sofrito? Well, actually, it's not just limited to Spain. There's the Spanish variety, but there's also Puerto Rican style, there's also Latin American. They all have slight little variations of each, but they all typically contain the major ingredients of some herbs, usually cilantro, some peppers, some onion, some garlic, and sometimes some tomato. And it's either then pureed in a food processor with olive oil or sautéed in a pan with some olive oil. And that's basically your situation there of a sofrito. It is super delicious. Now back to Better Than Bouillon. They've recently launched the Culinary Collection, and in the Culinary Collection they have sofrito flavor. So today I said to myself, I am going to do something that I've always wanted to do. I wanted to do a risotto that's kind of reminiscent of arroz con pollo, but also make it sofrito style. But I don't have to prepare my sofrito. And you know why? Because I have Better Than Bouillon sofrito base from the Culinary Collection. And you can find this in many, many markets online at betterthanbouillon.com, many places. So just check it out, believe me, because it's gonna make this risotto next level delicious. All right, so let's go right to the Instant Pot, because yes, we're bringing out the Instant Pot today. And speaking of the Instant Pot, which I'm gonna be cooking this in today, one of the main reasons to get it is to make a risotto, because there's no babysitting whatsoever, none. If you do it on the stovetop, you know you have to check on it often, stir it, and there's room for error. This one, all you do is do a quick saute of some veggies and chicken, add the arborio rice, pour in that delicious sofrito broth, and then put a lid on top and pressure cook it, and presto! You're gonna have the most amazing risotto sofrito thanks to Better Than Bouillon sofrito base from the Culinary Collection. So don't take my word for it, let's just go right to the Instant Pot, and I'm gonna show you what a snap it really is. Let's do it! So I fervently believe in prep before you step, and the very first thing I want to focus on therefore is to create that rich sofrito situation that's going to go on in this risotto sofrito. And there's going to be no easier, quicker, or tastier way to get there than to use some Better Than Bouillon sofrito base from the Culinary Collection. This stuff is magical, and you're going to see how easy it is. Just unscrew the lid from the jar, and I'm going to scoop out 5 teaspoons of it, because why? I'm using 5 cups of water, and 1 teaspoon of Better Than Bouillon plus 1 cup of water equals 1 cup of broth. So 5 teaspoons of Better Than Bouillon plus 5 cups of water equals 5 cups of amazing sofrito broth. And you see how easily this scoops out and goes right into my water. Let's do that 5 times, perfect. And then you just simply stir it around. I typically use water that's already warm from the sink or even hot, that's fine. But don't worry about it, because this is gonna get heated up when we pressure cook it, and it's gonna dissolve fully into the water. And if you can't find the sofrito base, even though you can get it online and in many markets these days, you can use any Better Than Bouillon base of your choice. And in the written recipe, we'll make up for it by making a more traditional sofrito. But again, this is going to be the easiest way to do it, just by using some Better Than Bouillon sofrito base from the Culinary Collection. Amazing. All right, now that we have our sofrito base, let's move on. All right, so now let's get cooking. To the Instant Pot, I want to add in both 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil and 2 tablespoons or 1/4 of a stick of salted butter. Alright, so I'm going to come down to my Instant Pot and hit the saute button and make sure I'm on the more or high setting. If your model has a start button, hit that. If it doesn't, after a few seconds of doing nothing, it'll go into the function. Okay, once our butter's melted and bubbling in the oil, we're going to now add in 1 Spanish or yellow onion that I've diced up, as well as 1 red bell pepper that I've diced up. And I'm going to saute my onion and pepper in the butter and olive oil for about 3 minutes until they soften up a bit. Okay, and after about 3 minutes of sauteing my pepper and onion, I now want to add in 3 cloves or 1 tablespoon of crushed or minced garlic. And this is optional, but I really like to add it to this dish because it's of Spanish influence. I'm gonna add in some saffron, just a pinch of it. Saffron is usually red in color. It can usually be a little bit pricey, but you can get it from Costco for a pretty fair price, and you only use a very little bit usually when you cook. A little goes a super long way here, and I wanna add about 1/4 teaspoon, or really just like a pinch. See what I mean? A pinch. Add it into the pot. And we're gonna saute that for another minute. Again, you don't have to add the saffron because it can be pricey, but it really does add an additional layer of flavor. But again, no worries because it's really all about that sofrito. And between the sofrito and that pinch of saffron, this thing is gonna be next level. Now what I wanna do is I wanna add 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs that I've cut into bite-sized pieces. You can also use breasts if you want, but I feel like thighs are more juicy and tender. And I also want to season it up with the following: 1½ teaspoons of seasoned salt, and 1 teaspoon each of dried parsley flakes, oregano, and some paprika. And I like to use smoked paprika, but you can use regular. And we're going to saute all of this together in the pot for about another 3 minutes until the chicken becomes a pinkish white color. We have so many amazing flavors already going on, and we don't even have the sofrito in yet, so just wait until that happens. Okay, and after about 2 to 3 minutes of stirring, you'll see that my chicken kind of has this pinkish white color. It certainly shouldn't be fully cooked now. That's going to happen when we pressure cook. Next up, we're going to add in what makes this a risotto, the rice. In this situation, use arborio rice. You can find this in many, many, many supermarkets, pretty much all of them. We don't pre-rinse it like I would normally do with a white or a brown rice, but we're just going to pour it as is into the pot. 2 cups of arborio rice. Alright, we're going to stir our arborio rice up with everything in the pot for about a minute. And I know it doesn't seem like there's a lot of rice in there right now, but rice is one of the most deceiving things ever before it gets cooked and absorbs all the liquid we're about to add when we add that amazing sofrito broth. Alright, we are ready to add in our next ingredient, and that is going to be our sofrito broth, thanks to Better Than Bouillon's sofrito base from the Culinary Collection. It's magic. Add that. And then I'm going to finish it off with a 14½ ounce can of diced tomatoes with their juices. And then I'm going to stir that up until everything's combined, making sure I scrape the bottom of the pot to make sure nothing's stuck on the bottom of it from when we sauteed the chicken with all those spices. Okay, so you see how it's very liquidy right now and you can barely see the rice? Wait until you see the magic that's going to happen. Normally when you were making a risotto on the stove, you would be babysitting this and constantly having to stir. It's not going to happen here. When this is done being pressure cooked, you're going to see how it's going to be magic and how all of that sofrito broth is going to be infused into our risotto. Alright, let's secure our lid and pressure cook. Add it on top, secure it, and now it's time to pressure cook. We're going to hit the cancel button and then hit the pressure cook or manual button depending on your model. I want to go for 6 minutes at high pressure. You adjust the time with the plus or minus buttons or the knob depending on your model. And again, if you have a start button, hit that to start the process. And now that we're done pressure cooking, we're going to finish this off with a quick release. And when the pin drops, that means our release cycle is complete and our lid is unlocked. So we can now open it. Okay, and this smells insanely good. Alright, you're going to see there's still some liquid in there, but don't be deceived. There's really not much at all, because when we get in there with our little mixing spoon or spatula, we're going to stir this around, and I told you, look at that, like magic, all of that risotto appears. Just like magic! I want it to be a little saucy right now because we have a final ingredient to add, or maybe even 2. The first one to tie this all together is going to be a cheese of your choice that's shredded. In my situation here, because this is a Spanish dish with the sofrito, I'm using manchego cheese, which is a sheep's cheese, and it is nutty and amazing. I love it. I'm using 2 cups of it, but you can also just use 1 cup if you want. If you don't want to use manchego, by the way, Costco sells it for a great price, you can 100% use a different shredded melty cheese like a Mexican blend, a taco blend, even mozzarella, whatever you want. And then just stir that into my risotto, and it's going to melt into it so nicely. And now optionally, I know they're not everyone's bag, you can add in some peas, because I really think that peas enhance this dish as well. Some sweet peas, about 10 ounces of frozen ones. You don't have to add them. I just took them frozen, put them in this colander, and rinsed them really quickly under some cold water, and they thaw very quickly. They're still cold, but that's okay, because the heat of the risotto is going to heat them up. Now it's almost like kind of like risotto paella, and it's beyond amazing. I mean, there's no sauerkraut, which is the crusty portion of it. but it's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna let this rest now for about 3 or so minutes. Just let those peas get heated through. I mean, come on, guys. Look at this. Creamy, delicious, perfectly cooked risotto. Done in the easiest fashion with no babysitting, barely any effort whatsoever. And I'm telling you, the flavors are gonna be off the charts, because if it tastes even a fraction of as good as it smells, we're all in for a serious treat. Okay, it's time to now serve this amazingness up. I'm gonna grab a bowl and we're gonna do it. Alright. If you want to, you can even add some more additional cheese on top, some more of that manchego, whatever shredded cheese you used. Okay, now let's grab a fork and dig in, because this Risotto Sofrito, thanks to the Better Than Bouillon Sofrito base from the Culinary Collection, is about to go right into my belly, and I'm about to have a food nirvana situation. Here we go. And okay, the moment of truth. My Risotto Sofrito. Let's try it out. I know I always seem like maybe I'm a little overdramatic when I try my food, but that's because it makes me that way. This is seriously, if you've ever had arroz con pollo, think of it as like a risotto, but elevated so much higher. And all because of this Better Than Bouillon. I'm telling you, this is the most amazing, magical amplifier of flavor. I love it so much. There's a reason why I've been using it for the past 7 years. I mean, I'm obsessed with it. It's amazing. And this risotto, it just takes it to like outer space. It's truly something remarkable, and it is so easy. The fact that I didn't have to actually make my own sofrito, and I could just use this, it did all the work for me. Inside of it, you have fire roasted tomatoes, onion, garlic, and cilantro. The flavor combinations are everything in this situation, and I don't know what else to say other than the fact that you gotta get it and you gotta give it a shot. You make this risotto for anybody, they're gonna fall in love with you. The manchego cheese mixed in with it, that tender chicken. This chicken is so tender. The rich undertones of the sofrito. And then you have, you know, all the tomato in there, and the pepper and the onion. And then you have the sweet peas, which are a nice optional touch. You don't have to add them if you don't want peas, but they really do add that nice touch. It's next level. It's truly next level good. And by the way, if you don't want any dairy in this, you can leave out the cheese. You don't have to add the cheese. I love adding the manchego cheese, or really any kind of shredded cheese. You can use a Mexican blend too. But when you take the lid off, when you're done pressure cooking and you give it a stir, just let it rest for a few minutes. The cheese helps it bind more quickly, but even without the cheese, it's gonna bind after just resting for about 5 minutes on its own. Trust me on that. And also, if you don't want dairy, just substitute 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil in the beginning instead of 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of butter. All right, makes up for it there. Okay, this one, I actually am sad that I've already written my 4 Instant Pot cookbooks, and speaking of which, you can get them anywhere books are sold. They're all simple and super easy recipes. You have the original orange cookbook, which it sold so many copies, I can't keep track at this point. You have the blue one, which is lighter eating. You have the yellow one, which is comfort food. And you have the green one, which is super shortcut, which means there's no recipe in the book that for the Instant Pot that will have more than 10 ingredients. And if I call for salt, pepper, or an oregano, that's 3 of the ingredients right there. Some recipes have 5 or less ingredients, and everything is super lightning fast. But it's like that with all my books. They're all super simple and super easy and delicious. Check me out at pressurelookcooking.com, because that's where a ton of my recipes live online, and all the social channels at Pressure Look Cooking on Instagram, Facebook, you know, all that stuff. YouTube, subscribe, like it, you know, all that stuff. Thank you so much again for watching, my friends. And the next time you want to make a dish that's going to please everyone, from Mary to John, we'll make my Risotto Sofrito. And the secret ingredient in that is Better Than Bouillon. Enjoy. Mwah. I love you so much. And I love you so much. So good.